Okay, perfect. Well, why don't we kick off? Exciting topic today, marketplace shoppers in 2026. So we are going to jump into a couple things. Let me kick off. I'm Matt. I head up our North American partnerships at ChannelEngine. I've got what I would consider to be a pretty darn exciting panel. So we've got Alex B from Versuni, who leads up global marketplace growth. Alex Timlin at SAP, who heads up their customer experience organization. And then we got Jorrit, who is our CEO and fearless leader at ChannelEngine. So let me kick it over to you guys. If you want to maybe give a 20-30 second intro of your businesses and how maybe you interact with us, that'd be great. Let's kick it off with Alex B.
Of course, yeah. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are. My name is Alex. I'm the global platform lead in Versuni for, we call it consumer marketplaces, direct to consumer. And my role is to ensure that our products can be found regardless whether our shoppers are in Asia, in Amsterdam, or in the Americas. And maybe one sentence about the brand Versuni, which might not be a household name. Versuni emerged from the Philips domestic appliances spin-off in 2021. And so they are home to some of the most renowned brands in the SDA category. So Philips, obviously, but also Saeco, Gadja, Pretty, Senseo. There are quite a few, even more. And our mission is to turn houses into homes, to make life a little less demanding and more rewarding.
Awesome. Before we kick it over to Alex T, I believe you guys are selling on over 30 marketplaces today at Versuni. So for the audience to understand, that is a lot of marketplaces to try to master. And we'll kick it over to Alex T.
With pleasure. Alex Timlin. I lead go-to-market strategy and advocacy here for the customer experience line of business at SAP. Fun fact, SAP manage 80% of the world's transactional sales and count amazing clients such as Versuni as our customers and amazing companies like ChannelEngine as our partners. And want to talk a little bit today about some of the research and some of the learnings from handling more than $1 trillion in annual sales from last year, including more Black Friday than Shopify, Adobe, and Salesforce combined for Cyber Week last year.
Thanks. Then it goes over to me. We're not handling $1 trillion yet, but we're working hard on it. So Jorrit Steinz, founder and CEO of ChannelEngine. For those if you don't know, ChannelEngine is a multi-channel e-commerce and marketplace automation platform. So we provide access to more than 1,300 marketplaces, sales channels, including social commerce and, of course, upcoming agentic commerce, and making sure everything is well integrated. A lot of overlapping customers joined you with SAP. So we stream all the orders worldwide into the different SAP systems and make sure everything operationally works super well. So we see firsthand what works for mid-sized customers to really large enterprise customers. And I've been working with these guys for a long time. So look forward to an exciting conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we're going to cover today, so we are touching base on marketplace discoverability, where to even start, how shoppers are comparing before they buy, which is really important, what's building confidence in buyers, and how to reduce friction and hesitation from individuals before they go and make a purchase. Can't have one of these forums without talking about AI. So we're going to absolutely touch on how it fits into the picture, and it's changed vastly in the last few months. And then we'll do a question and answer to make sure we answer any questions that you have outstanding. We're super excited to launch and announce our shopping behavior report. This is for 2026 insights. So we actually, at ChannelEngine, surveyed over 4,500 marketplace shoppers to understand how they discover and compare and buy across France, Germany, the Netherlands, UK, and the US. So we've seen this shift in marketplaces towards trust, value, transparency. There are some amazing findings, and we'll send this to you all afterwards, but consumers are typically checking 3+ marketplaces before making a purchase, and pricing inconsistencies are being noticed very, very quickly, along with inventory, how those products are listed across those channels. And we're going to get into how and the importance of what that looks like in a minute or two here. So we want to start with a poll. So we want to know from your perspective, what do you see as the biggest challenges in selling on marketplaces today? So is it staying visible across the marketplaces, keeping listings accurate, updated, and converting, achieving and maintaining a level of profitability, driving sustainable growth, or choosing the right marketplaces and channels? So we will, as we wait for you all to start answering that question, I'll kick it over to Alex B, who we already established is pretty much an expert in marketplaces. What do you see as some of your largest challenges in selling on marketplaces?
Yeah, so well, I think we in Versuni, we are at a good mature state today, but I do recall all of these for sure. So, well, a few years ago, our biggest challenge were like more the operational parts, getting data right, keeping listings in sync, or even deciding where to go, where to play on marketplaces. I think we largely moved past that phase now. And today our focus is mainly about being present, of course, sell where people shop. I think this is also your motto, Jorrit, right? And to grow in a healthy and sustainable way, putting marketplaces in like a bigger like scheme into a channelization strategy so that we don't cannibalize and grow sustainably.
I think it's super helpful. We're starting to see some of the answers flow in, right? Keeping listings accurate, updated, converting, achieving, maintaining profitability. I would love Alex T's take on this, right? Seeing $1 trillion plus in transactions. Is this mapping to what you guys are seeing in the CX org over at SAP?
I think exactly as Alex just said about Versuni, I think listening to customers like Samsung, Sony, Dyson, and so on, the biggest challenge is not wanting to be where customers are. It's how do I make sure that my product data is in the right format, my listings are correct, my pricing's right. And every time that you have a claim in your product, like we are the number one in the world at X, if there's a new product comes in and they're rated as number one in the world for X, you need to go and change 30 different places to say, we are no longer number one in the world in X. It's the claims you make and some of the things around the product data and your offering. They're not static. It's digital marketing's changing all the time, and keeping things accurate, updated, and highly converting. It's a full-time job for a lot of people involving a lot of spreadsheets. So the people who gave the answers in that category, you are very much not alone.
Yeah, I'd love your take as well, right? You've been a business owner, you've sold on these marketplaces. What's your perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. Started selling many years on different marketplaces with different requirements on different platforms, and we had to build all these integrations custom made. So that's also why I started ChannelEngine, because it was exploding with the different demands on titles and descriptions. And I think most important, especially talking about brands that want to sell on all these different places where the consumer is making sure you can do this at scale and consistently, especially now, because it's not just once fire and forget, but you have to keep on optimizing your title descriptions, really making sure that all the attributes are correct. I spoke to one large watch manufacturer, sports watch, and one of the resellers put on a very long battery life of 2 months, and they got all the watches returned because it was just incorrect. So making that those attributes correct and consistency is key.
Yeah. And marketplaces, they like to make it easy sometimes, right?
Absolutely not. Every marketplace is completely different in their requirements, and that's also where we sit in between. And even then, they might change things last minute, depending on the region, depending on the interface, the category, and stuff like that. I see Alex smiling. It's like, you recognize that part, right?
I recognize that part, yes.
I've heard that a time or two from our customers as well. Let's shift to how marketplace shoppers are discovering in 2026. So we are seeing through that survey and our clients that marketplaces are a really great place where shoppers are still starting their search for items, right? 37% are starting on marketplaces still, ahead of their brand sites, ahead of search. It's becoming, but it's also now becoming a little bit more fragmented, where there's marketplaces, search, social, and AI. So I want to talk a little bit about social commerce, which we see expanding within our client universe. Alex B, I'd love your take and Versuni's on if and how the expansion of these marketplaces is actually working in real life for your brand and your business.
Yeah. So, I mean, technically speaking, TikTok Shop, for example, is I think the most prominent example in the social commerce sphere. Technically, it's just another marketplaces with a few nuances. So our experiences so far is that it's that the dynamics on this marketplace is very, very different than like traditional marketplaces. Think about the Amazons and Walmarts and Bulls out there. It's very much content driven. So your success depends on heavily like creative, engaging, and native content that you produce. And our strategy was and still is a bit like in experimental mode, I would call it. There is a lot of marketing around this channel. It's also coming from TikTok. They try to get as many sellers onboarded as possible. Our results so far look promising. It's not like that it's like completely shifts your channel mix, your sales mix. But it looks promising, though we do see a few things, and I take this number here from our Southeast Asia business, where we do 30% of our sales from live shopping. And if you translate that into, let me call it the Western Hemisphere, into Europe, into the US, that can become quite pricey. So it's really a different ball game, and in all fairness, I think we can see this here on the slide. We see that in your shopper study. We are trading in the selling in the electronics category, which is a challenging category for social commerce. We do see that it's a lot about the product. Can you tell the story about the product? It's about the price. And I can imagine that it's a bit easier for brands selling in beauty or fashion or cosmetics, sorry. We are treating TikTok as like a social commerce marketing hybrid. It's not only about the sales being recorded in our books, ultimately the shopper may go elsewhere, but it's about engaging with a young audience, with an audience that is difficult to unlock on traditional channels. So this is how we see TikTok at the moment, amongst other sales social commerce channels, but TikTok I think is the most prominent one.
Yeah, and just a quick follow. So obviously some of your brands have this wonderful recognition, but how are you, I guess, adapting to stay visible across, the new channels that pop up, like a TikTok, for instance?
I mean, we are monitoring that closely, what touch points you have, and we clearly see that this is changing. I think you saw that as well when asking consumers. It's way more diverse. So a few years ago, and I'm saying like 2, 3, 4 years ago, it was like in a lot of geographies, you had like 50-50 from a user journey perspective. So you either started in Google or you started in Amazon with your product research. That fundamentally changed. Now you have social commerce in the upper funnel. You have all the AI modes and ChatGPTs and perplexities. So that fundamentally changed, and yeah, we need to adapt because of that change, but also the number of marketplaces is just growing. It's getting more diverse. Some marketplaces try to challenge Amazon, or at least challenge in a certain niche. So we see a change there. We are actively monitoring this and try to adapt. And what we see as a key trend, I think, is that all these platforms try to move into more embedded purchasing journeys. So the Googles and the TikToks, they all try to vertically integrate towards checkout. And what that means for the established channels, well, we will find out, I think, very, very soon, what that means for traditional journeys in Walmart, in Amazon, in bol.com, in Kaufland, in Europe. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Alex T in one of our prep sessions was mentioning the idea of dilution, right? So that each new channel is kind of slightly reducing the dominance of any single one channel. I'd love Alex T for you to maybe talk a little bit about that, what it means for these brands. Is that shift mean you have to be present everywhere, or what does that look like?
I think that the devil's in the detail. So I think if we look at overall traffic for brands across the different social sites and their websites, traffic's not exploding. So like for the number of new channels that are being introduced, traffic to branded sites and to branded properties is not increasing in comparison to the amount of places they need to be. So as TikTok rises, you're seeing less traffic coming from Google. As new channels come up through agentic commerce, it means less in Amazon search. Now, Amazon search is still huge, and I think some interesting research on the next slides. But it's not a zero-sum game. But not everything is accretive as well. So every time you add a new marketplace or a new channel, you're not getting new traffic and new customers. Sometimes it's the same customer in a different place. But I think Alex's point from Versuni is so important, which is you've got to be in some of these places and look at it from a demographic perspective to say, am I winning new customers and am I winning different types of customers in different types of places? And to a certain element, a lot of this is future-proofing your business, not just for what's happening, but to what's going to happen in the coming years as well. It isn't going to unlock 5% or 10% incremental growth for you. It's going to be 2 or 3% in terms of growth for a lot of people in a lot of cases, particularly with agentic commerce. ChatGPT and TikTok Shop are not going to be huge revenue drivers for you right now. But I don't know anyone on the call who can give away 2 or 3% of online sales willingly in the market that we're in. But it is a very small incremental improvement rather than looking at these big, huge gains of like 20%, 30% extra coming on top, and paying attention to where your new customers are coming from and where your returning customers are coming from is actually a really, really important element of the discussions that we're having today as well.
Yeah, I think it's it makes sense from a perspective of talking about it. I'd love, Alex B, you guys you've done this, right? So you've actually gone and selected channels and done this next step. And I guess, what does that selection process even look like? And have you gotten out of channels really quickly that maybe are underperforming for what you're expecting out of the gates? Would love your kind of real world perspective there.
Yeah, we did that not only once. The good thing is that with ChannelEngine we can do this with good scalability. If something that we expected to work doesn't work, then it's fine. Everything is built to be scalable. I think one lesson that we learned is that you must choose your battles wisely. I think this is also the point that Alex T brought up. When we are evaluating channels today, we look at the operational maturity. I think that was a mistake in the beginning that we did, that we just like looked at PowerPoint slides and marketplaces, promised a lot. And then we found out that that things are just manual, or that it doesn't really work, that we cannot interface content in full automation. ChannelEngine is automating that, but of course there are sometimes boundaries set by the marketplaces, which is not allowing us to build our brand on these channels as we want to do it. Another topic is about SLAs. So when we realized early, hey, we really can't make these marketplace SLAs. From a brand equity perspective, we also need to protect our brand. Sometimes it's then just better to say like, okay, that doesn't work for us. Maybe not yet. Maybe we come back later. Maybe we invest, and we did that several times by reducing focus on certain channels, or even to terminate channels if they don't work for us.
Jorrit, how about your perspective on, I guess, even social in general, right? Some pretty large numbers here and growth, but would love to hear your perspective.
Yeah, so if you look at social, it's one part of the mix. Like Alex said, it's another marketplace, but it has a different demographic, different way of doing business. We see a lot of success in cosmetics, fashion, health, but it's only with the companies that truly invest time, effort, and with the right generation of people on their team to drive this well. So I see a lot of volume, but only from a specific subset of customers that do this. And I think it's important to know that there is a big market. Some large customers, I see it on the roadmap somewhere in 2027, which is way too late in my opinion, because it's one of the mixes. And I think you shouldn't evaluate channels one by one, right? A consumer is not going to one marketplace and then buying there and that's it. So a lot of consumers start on a marketplace with their search, then they go to a different marketplace, or they go to Google and they find marketplaces. Then they pop into social or on X or on ChatGPT to ask and validate. And I think that whole journey, you need to be present with your products. And otherwise a competitor might pop up. And then it's becoming more complex, like Alex said, because you operationally need to handle it as well. Because if you're present on so many marketplaces and you sell something on one platform, you need to take it off the other one. Otherwise, you get a disappointed consumer because it isn't in stock after all. And I think that operational excellence is essential, because first you build that brand, a lot of effort, then you have these beautiful brand pages and the right price and the right title and the right attributes, and then somebody buys it, and then it is either delivered late or not in stock and stuff like that. That gives a very negative effect. So if you don't automate this well, then you have an issue. And what Alex said, testing out new channels shouldn't be a bottleneck. So you should be able to launch and to test a small channel, see if it matches your demographic, and then take it off again. It's not a big investment once you're fully integrated. And we've seen new marketplace pop up. We've seen marketplace close down very quickly after a couple of months. So leveraging all these different channels is essential, and also redirecting inventory to different geographic regions, especially with the current interesting instability in the market. You should be able to move super fast.
Anything else from any of the panel folks here on social commerce that we may have missed? I want to make sure we touch it all.
Yes, I'm not the best target audience. So over the years, I know that looking at the products when I was running e-commerce myself and looking at the products, like, who the hell is buying that? And then I looked in the system, a lot of people are buying it. So don't think you know your consumer super well. Make sure you, I see someone laughing in the chat, and it's true. So I'm not the biggest TikTok fan. I installed it in the beginning. So make sure you have a team that really knows this well, or use an agency that really, really knows this well. It's a different skill. And I think one of the biggest challenges with social is that it typically sits in the marketing team. And then you have a direct-to-consumer team, and then you have a B2B team. Bringing those together with the same targets is essential, because also traffic on TikTok might drive sales on Amazon, because somebody has their account and their Prime membership. So it all interconnects. So as long as you keep that separate, you're going to have a very hard time winning in this e-commerce game.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Either of the Alexes? anything else?
Well,
Awesome.
no, I can echo that from an organizational standpoint. It is what Jorrit just mentioned. That was exactly the situation how we started with TikTok. It was a pure marketing channel. Then the TikTok shop feature was released, and then everyone started like saying, "Oh, we need to go there." But teams were not integrated. Maybe we come back to this later, but I think team setup is also like an essential factor how to win on TikTok, yes, but also how to win on marketplaces. And what I do see in a lot of companies and a lot of brands is that they try to keep things as separate as possible, creating this famous Chinese wall. And there is no one size fits all advice on that, but I encourage brands to have a very close look on what is actually like the guardrails. There must be guardrails, what is actually required by law. But integrated teams usually work much better than the siloed ones, especially when it comes to these what I mentioned, what is framed as a marketing commerce hybrid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's also what the biggest, what's holding back the biggest customers. Biggest companies have different incentives for B2B and B2C, as well as marketing, and that needs to be brought together because eventually it's one product, one brand, and you need to get that to the consumer in the best way possible, whether it's 1P, 3P, marketplace, social commerce, agentic commerce, your D2C shop, it doesn't matter. It needs to be very good customer experience. All your content needs to be there. Everybody should rally around that objective and not being worried about their own personal incentive if it's not aligned with the end goal of the company.
I think it's
actually a corporate thing, I believe. That's a corporate thing.
Yeah.
Also,
left pocket, right pocket.
The larger the company, the harder it is to re-steer the ship or change that 1 or 2% that Alex T mentioned earlier. Alex T, would love your perspective on how you go about having these conversations with some of the largest companies on the planet. Right? How do you get them to to buy into a new strategy, social, the impact that it could make? Maybe the little 1%, 2%, but it's a really large number when you kind of take a step back and look at it.
I think Alex will be able to test this. We don't need to convince anything of anyone. Like, all of our customers want to be omni-channel. It's not a surprise for them. I think, as we heard from Paul at the beginning, it's really about the how. And I think where we have a responsibility is to look at how do we connect customers together and how do we connect customers with partners to look at how to reduce the risk. And I think for anyone who's looking at how you make a business case of exploring new things and making the most of new opportunities, it's how you demonstrate the risk, the reward, and also the resources needed to be able to do something. Don't make a business case to go on 30 marketplaces and expect it to fly. It's look at doing your research and figuring out what's the right marketplaces for us to begin with. Let's go Zalando, let's go Amazon, let's go Ball, let's go Target, wherever else it's going to be for your geography or category. If you've got data, if you've got opportunity, if you have a plan, you'll find out that it's quite easy to get backing for it. If you give someone an opportunity without a plan, it's just another thing for someone to think about. And I think a lot of people kind of confuse someone being excited about something with someone getting funding for something. Everyone's executives are excited about new channel opportunities, but how much do they cost and how long is it going to take me to get there is what executives are thinking about. And if you can de-risk that, then it's a great opportunity for you to be a front runner in helping your business grow into new markets, new channels, and new revenue opportunities.
I would love to dive in. I hear you mention the cost, and what I see across the globe, there's a different perspective in these investments. It's a strategic choice. Are we going to sell? How we're going to sell marketplaces? But what I see in Europe a little bit more than in the US is that it's more focused on the out-of-pocket cost versus the opportunity cost. So some companies are taking a long time to decide and are just, in my opinion, a bit more penny wise, pound foolish, and they're leaving millions on the table. And many very large brands are investing just a few people to such a strategic topic, and that blows my mind each time. If you do this well, I see companies investing millions in consultancy, and then let's put 3 FTE on our global direct-to-consumer marketplace e-commerce strategy with social. And oh yeah, agentic is coming. By the way, can you also handle customer support? Still blows my mind. I don't know if you guys recognize that.
I do. Well, the challenge we had to convince some people that we can drive sales, that we can drive incremental business for the company. That is, of course, once you manage to get to that point, it becomes a bit easier. But yeah, we mentioned you mentioned that earlier. You already these left pocket, right pocket conversations that you initially have. Like, why should we have this very successful retail or 1P business? Yeah, there are 100 different reasons why you should. Let's start with like diversifying the risk, or diversifying your channel mix a little bit. think a lot of brands are overly dependent from on Amazon, and this is why I also why I see this shift, that there are new touch points out there. Why I personally see this, yes, challenging, it's quite dynamic, but I see this as an opportunity, because those brands who today sell to or via Amazon may recognize that serving Amazon became quite costly lately. And with new touch points, the cost of acquisition is usually lower, and you diversify your channel mix. So it's nice. It's a good opportunity. Not all of these channels are yet there, so it's not like huge numbers. Oh, we are getting there.
And they're also interconnected, right? You mentioned retail. So a lot of brands are focused on retail, but there's this very strong halo effect, and it's measurable. So if you advertise and your products are found in a certain region, you see an uplift in the retail sales as well. So it's not just a sales channel, it's also a marketing channel, and it's really part of your business case.
That's right. And it's a good segue, I think, into AI, right? And shopping behavior. We're seeing early data signs that many shoppers, over 50%, are using these AI tools to research products, well above half. And I have to imagine that number is going to increase over time. What I think to keep in mind at this moment in time is that shoppers are trusting AI for more so research and comparison. Completing purchases is, I know, on some of these platforms, just flipping on and just getting started. I'd love your take on how brands should interpret this. Is it a primary research layer right now? Do you see it becoming a meaningful commercial channel in the near future? What's that look like in your eyes?
Yeah, I'm super close to the different teams. So we're building this integration, ACP, UCP already. But one of the challenges is that merchants don't get access yet. So we're close to the payment service providers. There's a lot of press releases, and I think there's more press releases than actual companies selling on the different channels, because it's pretty tricky also for these platforms to do this operationally super well. So the process is there. A lot of consumers are already using the ChatGPT, Perplexities, Geminis for product research. And that's the most AI or agentic about these channels, right? Because the order itself is an API call and it's a data feed for the product information. I think most important at the moment is it's coming. I do expect a lot of volume, and it's a chicken and egg situation, because as soon as you do the product discovery and you can do a checkout and you build that trust, it will start growing because it's super convenient. What brands can prepare for now is using their direct-to-consumer brand.com shop, as well as a marketplace, to create content as rich as possible to be discoverable in the LLMs. There are possibilities as soon as you get an account to feature data in it, but it will also always be augmented by the data that the LLMs find online. So most important is being discoverable, enriching your content, making sure it's as relevant as possible, get as many reviews as possible in different places. That's step one. And then operationally, it's almost the same as a marketplace. The crucial difference is that if you sell something on Amazon, they will collect the payment on their payment services account, pay you out minus their fee. With the LLMs, ChatGPT, Gemini, they're all going to work the same. The payment is done in your own merchant payment account, whether it's a Stripe, a Gen, PayPal. You get it paid out and you get a bill for the affiliate fee. So operationally, for the orders and stock and stuff like that, it's exactly the same as marketplaces. So that's why we're launching that as separate channels. So it is coming. I think as soon as one of them really opens the floodgates, the rest will too. At the moment, they're mostly testing with some large retailers with just a subset of products. They're testing it with Etsy. Shopify is being rolled out, but also not fully. They're not supporting multi-merchant baskets yet. So it's all early in the works, but a lot of companies are working on it. We're close to them, so it is coming. So we just need to be prepared. I think in the meantime, just make sure your content is enriched on the different marketplaces and you have your operational processes in place.
I just want to pick up on that because it's really important that the vast majority of the foundational partners for agentic commerce with Google and with ChatGPT are marketplaces. And what it's all about is onboarding that product information and having a wide variety as possible of products that can be purchased, and de-risking for the agentic providers the places that they need to integrate with. So this is a new standard. It's an emerging standard, but consumers, about 2% of ChatGPT usage is for product search. 2%. That's it. And this graph here with the 33%, that doesn't include where people actually do their discovery. So you're still going to see Amazon, you're still going to see eBay ranking above ChatGPT, and Google Gemini will eat into Google search. It's the same thing. Like, you're not going to Google Gemini and Google search. It's going to be one or the other. So I think a lot of these things need to be looked at in the context of what we've talked about before, which is agentic shopping is a new surface, but it's not really a new channel. It's going to eat into some of the existing channels that you've got in discovery, and it's going to tap into some of the existing channels that you have in terms of your own .com, your partner ecosystem, your wholesalers, your resellers, and your marketplaces. But it's another way to access a lot of this stuff rather than something that's going to be on top of these things. And I think we need to kind of bear that in mind to say how people are using the internet is changing, not changed. It's very, very small, but it's inevitable in certain cases. And having a great product experience and optimizing for a marketplace is going to put you in great stead to take advantage of these places on both discovery and on checkout. And some of our customers are actually looking at how to do the place with Target or with Walmart to get them to do the checkout bit first and see how well it goes before they're integrating agentic checkout with their own .coms, because it's such emerging technology, which means that it breaks a lot and it doesn't always work.
Correct.
But it's fascinating, right? Because all these brands and platforms, they see this shift in how people discover products, how they use these LLMs. And I find it quite fascinating because these big brands, the Amazons and Googles of this world, or Walmarts of this world, they all partner up with these LLMs because they don't want to fall between the cracks. The Shopify said they want to secure visibility, so they invest now.
Yeah, I
It's
think
kind of interesting that the biggest brands on this planet acknowledge this shift at this stage.
Yeah, I think Google has very strong cards there because they already do drive a lot of e-commerce traffic on Google Shopping. So that's going to be very interesting to see what's happening on that side. I think it's also important if you prepare for agentic commerce coming. So it's additional channels next to your .com, next to your marketplace, and you want to be very strategic about where are you going to allocate different stock levels, right? If you sell a product on ChatGPT and they completely sell out, and then your brand.com is empty, that's not a good user experience. Or maybe you want to have stock reservations for your special promotion on Amazon. So routing these things and the operational backend, and then strategically deciding what you sell, where and why, that's super important.
Yeah.
I'm really curious how this will develop, especially for those companies that are under the Alphabet like umbrella, because I think what matters for trust of the consumer is these LLMs must remain unbiased. If at a certain moment in time the Googles of this world will start with sponsoring products within the LLM, then I think this can really change everything. That can be the next evolution of e-commerce. But I'm still a bit skeptical, especially about Google, because if they start like sponsoring products within the LLM results, then it's just a different Google shopping experience, right? It's a kind of a different UI at that time.
Yeah,
so I'm really curious how this will turn out.
There are already sponsors ads in ChatGPT. And
yeah, but it's not what I asked the LLM for, right? Give me the best air fryer out there.
Yeah, and Claude has some very funny commercials against that. Look them up.
So we do have a blog post that outlines some of these fun and exciting new topics. We'd love to share it. Feel free to grab it now. I believe we'll probably send it out as well after the conversation. But I want to take a quick pause, right? We're clearly seeing that marketplaces are remaining a leading starting point, but that discoverability is spreading across these platforms. there's more touch points than ever. I think I really I loved Alex T's perspective on the shift from platform to platform, and it really still is about your product data in a lot of ways, just making sure that it's correct, it's in front of people wherever they're shopping. I get, before we move on from AI, I know there's this need to build that agility. Are there any final thoughts from the panel before we move on to comparison, how you kind of select a marketplace? I think there was a couple of questions actually that came through as well.
I see one from Dami. He was asking about consumer personas. So talking about Versuni, yes, we do that. It's not always easy. Sometimes the marketplace are sharing their persona, sometimes not. But we, of course, try to outline a little bit, hey, what is the audience that we're talking to? ChannelEngine opens the doors to up to, what did you say, Jorrit, 1,300 channels?
Yeah.
You as a brand won't sell on all of these channels. You must make choices there. And we try to view this a bit more holistically, understand who our consumers are, try to understand what are the touch points that we must serve as a brand with our portfolio, with our price points that can vary also per channel, but it's quite important for us. We don't want to be go blind into a new channel.
Yeah, I know we're also prepping for a webinar on agentic commerce to dive a lot deeper in this specific realm. So maybe bookmark that for the folks on the chat. And
happy to answer the question of Janine as well. So what are you seeing in terms of prioritization of listings that have agentic content versus not? For example, are you ranked higher in search if your content is AI created, or are you penalized? And where do you see that moving in the future? We haven't been able to experiment enough. I know customers of ours are experimenting with different content types on the different LLMs. I haven't heard about penalizing AI-generated content. Would be strange if AI is penalizing the stuff that's coming out of AI. Could be able to, I don't know, ChatGPT is going to penalize Gemini-generated content. I don't know. Don't think it's going that far, as long as it's adds value to the end consumer. I think most important is that
they've tried it. So they have tried it. It's just, it's so good now. AI can't tell whether AI wrote it or a human wrote it. So AI-generated content was a thing. It's less and less of a thing as it becomes commonplace.
I think most importantly is that within your product content, typical questions are answered. A lot of questions are posted to the LLMs. Does it fit in the dishwasher and stuff like that? Put it as much as possible in very rich content, so the LLMs can scrape it on marketplaces, or you can feed it into the LLMs, so you will service on those kind of questions. Those are important.
So definitely warranted to spend the time on that one. I think we could probably go into it for another hour alone. But let's talk a little bit about how marketplace shoppers are evaluating options, what comparison and trust looks like at the moment of purchase. And we're still seeing that more than half of shoppers are comparing that same product across multiple marketplaces, and 3+ marketplaces are being browsed before deciding actually where to buy. Right, so that is a pretty challenging thing for a company or somebody maybe in Alex B's position to try to sift through. So how does that these data points actually impact your marketplace strategy?
Yeah, I mean, I'm also a consumer. I'm also comparing products across different channels. We are selling a few very fancy products, but we're also selling quite a few. I have nothing against kettles and toasters, but there are other brands also trading kettles and toasters. All kettles and toasters, by the way, are great. You should check them out. But if people start comparing and visiting different platforms, marketplaces, you must ensure that you're present. I see that a lot in my conversations with our global marketing teams. There are the shiny platforms, retail or marketplace platforms, the Amazon kind of channels. And there are the, let me call them, less shiny marketplaces. I'm not referring to off-brand channels. There are also channels where you just say, okay, we as a brand, this is not a fit. I'm referring to, let's call them B-type channels, less prominent channels. Should you be there? Well, yes. Even if your global marketing or marketing person says, "Well, this is not a premium environment," blah blah. Consider it. If there is a consumer who loves to shop there for whatever reason, why should we dictate where a consumer should shop with us? So I really like these platforms and marketplace to compete on the best UI, on the best consumer experience, and where the consumer ultimately does the checkout. I don't care too much, but what I do know is that the consumer is on what do you say here? On the consumer shopping on 3 marketplaces on average. And if I'm only present on marketplace 1, then what? The chance that my consumer will shop with a different brand is quite likely if you have very comparable products. Not every product has like a true unique selling proposition, and that's something that people need to acknowledge and accept and deal with. So that's how I see that. It's a never-ending story. I have these conversations I don't know how many times. Yeah.
How do you think about picking a marketplace or 2 or 30 to be on?
Yeah, so like Alex T said in the beginning, don't do 30 from the get-go. Make sure you're operationally scalable first. Picking a marketplace is also a combination of where are consumers, also versus the number of competing offers. So sometimes it can be attractive to go on Amazon, but there are 600 million products on Amazon, and sometimes it's kind of hard and very expensive to float on top of certain categories and searches. There are other marketplaces with a lot of consumers, not many sellers, the local heroes in the different countries. So it's good to pick those as well. But it all depends on the vertical of your product. So if you're selling shoes, you're going to be on different marketplaces than when you're selling toasters. So if you're selling cosmetics, it's also different platforms. Testing it out is definitely an option, as long as you first have your operational process in order. If you run 2 or 3 marketplaces very well, then it's easy to just add another one. Test it out. If it doesn't work, you can always sunset it easily without a big investment. So I think that's also answer on the question of Jerome. Whether it's easy to gain access to new marketplaces, yes, it is. But make sure you have that operations flowing already. In terms of multiple marketplaces searching, I personally use my chat agent to talk to multiple marketplaces and compare them. But that's just me.
Really good question from Mark came through about, are you concerned about hurting your brand value and listing on less premium or B-type channels? Maybe Alex B, that one might be up your alley.
Well, you mean me, right? With this one? Yeah. That's what I mentioned previously. So I distinguish like the shiny stuff, the B-type channels, where you have a good audience, and maybe also like a audience that is, let's say, like more focused on good price or on low-end, mid-end products, and then you have the off-brand channels, as I call them. Off-brand, we park that. You just need to identify these and say like, okay, my brand will not sell on this platform. But the B-type channels, explore what these channels hold for you. So in some of these channels, you will be surprised that you can build great brand stories, product stories within the marketplace. So if you can just, put plain text as your content, that's of course not nice if the environment is already not like high quality. But for some of these channels, we see like if the consumer finds our product and is on our PDP, then it looks actually quite premium. So it really depends. Also here, no one size fit all, but
No, that's helpful. This is from our study as well. So these top factors are influencing these shoppers. So these are things that people have said, hey, this is really influential, right? So lower prices, faster shipping, product availability, more product variety, and trustworthy, easy returns, things like that. Alex T, question for you. When customers are expecting something like competitive pricing, fast delivery, availability, all these points on this screen, from your standpoint, what needs to be in place behind the scenes for those brands to deliver on that successfully?
I think one of the key things that we invested in last year at SAP was a concept around omni-channel promotion and pricing, and that there is the need and desire to be always thinking creatively about pricing and promotion and discount levels to make sure that you get the right balance between sell-through of products and profitability per product. So as the more you sell at a higher price, the better it is. But sometimes you need to lower the price to sell more. And sometimes you need to increase the price to hold the margin. But if you've got 100 different prices in 100 different places, that's also untrustworthy for a lot of people. So you've got to get that right balance between pricing consistency, but also pricing experimentation, and making sure that you don't have too many different prices in too many different places, particularly with some of these less premium marketplaces are going to want a less premium price point. But if they're offering you less traffic and you see a cheaper price on a lower marketplace, a customer's going to buy from that instead of from the bigger marketplace, and that's not good for relationships in a lot of cases. So I think holding out on pricing, holding out on consistency, and being present in these different places, but not necessarily being different in all of these different places, is something that we're really encouraging our customers to think about, to say, how do I make sure that what I see on TikTok, what I see on Instagram, what I see on the website, what do I see at a retail partner, what do I see in a store, and what I see in ChatGPT are as close as possible to a single version of the truth. Yes, experiment, yes, test, but don't have 100 different things in 100 different places. You'll erode trust and you'll lose sales to a competitor.
Yeah. Jorrit, how about you?
Yeah, I think if you look at pricing, definitely, like Alex says, need to be close to each other, so to build that trust. But there's also geographical differences, right? We see completely different prices in France versus Germany versus Belgium versus North America and Canada, and there are different pricing or promotion periods as well. So you can plan those ahead of time. Like Alex says, if you do a low price on a smaller marketplace, it might hurt your sales on a big marketplace, because the ranking on a marketplace is also dependent on the sales velocity, especially if you launch a new product. Maybe you want to invest more on selling on Amazon, making sure the sales velocity, the number of sales you do in a certain time, goes up. And the higher that goes into a certain category, the higher you rank organically as well. So a lot of things are tied into each other. Being very deliberate is important. Also, if we talk about Amazon, for instance, a lot of your brands are also a vendor. So if you have a 1P strategy as well as a 3P strategy, maybe you want to just follow the price, but not be the lowest on your 3P strategy, because Amazon determines the 1P strategy. But as soon as it runs out of stock, you can fall back to your 3P product at maybe a little bit higher price, or adjust your price accordingly. So there's a lot of rules you can set, but it needs to be strategic choices across all these different platforms.
Yeah, and I know this is a busy-ish slide, but I think you're segueing into the total value package quite nicely as well, right? It's about all of these things put together that reach a consumer when they need to see your product and engage with your product, to actually get them to ultimately click through and say, yes, I'm going to make a purchase. So it's not just about the lowest price, if you will.
So winning the buy box is a combination of the price as well as the seller performance rating. How fast can you deliver, etc. So you don't have to be the cheapest. Sometimes a higher price builds more trust than a lower price, depending on your product. So it's always a mix, and you can dynamically adjust and test that.
I do want to leave a couple minutes for questions. We've covered quite a lot. Is there maybe we'll go to each one of you real quick and just ask, okay, if there is one or two things that you would hope somebody takes away from this session and walks out saying, I've got this now. What would that look like? because I know you well, I'm going to start with you.
That's fine. As always, and basically any interview or conversation I do is like, make sure you build this scalably, operationally well automated, so you can experiment with a good customer experience. Don't try to build it yourself. You can connect an API, but you're missing all the tools to really manage this at scale. And talk to others that have done this journey. Listen to podcasts, talk to Alex, not all at the same time, but do this super well, and then have a strategy across the globe. So a lot of the brands are experimenting in one region, and then some other team is experimenting somewhere else. So really align strategically, bring people together, share knowledge, and really grow this thing.
Thanks. How about you, Alex B?
Well, I think we touched upon this, but I think consistency is key. That you won't leave your consumers with any sort of surprises on certain channels. Content must be in sync, listings must be in sync, pricing must be as consistent as possible. There are nuances, we all know this. Sometimes we need to tweak it a little bit. To operate it at scale, I can echo what Jorrit just said. So start with the foundation first, then choose your battles. Start with 1, 2, a handful of channels, build them in a good way, scale them, and then take the next bunch of channels. Once you're fully integrated, it becomes really, really easy. There was a question on the chat. How fast can you launch a new a marketplace? Can you? Does ChannelEngine help you with that? Yes. So usually you say like, oh, the middleman, can we cut them out? Now, in this case, the middleman adds a lot of value because you are integrated with these with all these channels, maintain these channels, and we can launch nowadays channels within like 2 weeks, and these 2 weeks are mainly related to like configuration stuff that we need to do within SAP, and to the KYC process of the marketplace, which is obviously out of our control. So we could be even faster, I think. It's really scalable.
Thank you. Alex T, last but certainly not least.
I think just echoing what the guy said, I think be prepared as to how you're going to move into a new channel. So this year, everyone on this call is either going to be in social, either moving into agentic, or moving into a new marketplace, or combinations of those things. How you move into channels and how you have the agility around your product experience management, not just your customer experience, but your product experience management, will dictate how agile your business can be into moving into these places and then moving out of some other places as well. I think that connectivity of saying, how do I not really care about the channel, but have a framework and a format to plug into new places, is where we're seeing the most prepared customers be and the most exceptional customers be. Places like Versuni, they have single view of product, single view of customer. How they can move into different places, they've got a really good framework for product data, for customer data, for sales data. Where does the sale come from? Less important. Where does the product go? Less important. Where does the customer come from? Less important. But we know how to deal with those information types wherever they are. And I think that's something that we can learn from and help encourage customers along that same journey is, let's have a strategy for omni-channel execution. Let's have a strategy for omni-channel fulfillment. And let's have a strategy for product experience management, just to make sure that you can get that agility into moving and taking advantage of at least one of these new opportunities in 2026.
Well, thank you. Thank you all. I think that's a wrap on the Marketplace Shopping Behavior Report. I learned a ton, and we will follow up with an email with some of this information. Please do get in contact with any of us if we can ever help in any way, shape, or form. And thank you all for joining.
Thanks, everybody.